This game we've got TheBlackHand playing as Blue Nod against SigPi963 as the gold GDI player. Playing it on Quarry, so it looks like the GDI player is getting the top left spawn and the Nod player is getting the bottom right spawn. So traditionally in this map, both players tend to crawl towards the center, get a ref set up here, then go along the sides. GDI players, sometimes when they spawn on the bottom right, they prefer, instead of going up along the sides, to go down along the bottom. Just due to the way that the refs work, it's better eco and they can push into their opponent quite hard. But interestingly enough, here SigPi is not opening power plant racks, they went power plant straight into ref. This is viable on certain maps. The Quarry is definitely one of them because you're not under huge infantry pressure early on. It does delay your initial scouting, but if there's not a huge amount of valuable information you're after from your opponent, then you should be good. It looks like the TheBlackHand here is going quite heavy on the flaming infantry. It's quite a lot to spend with these being 200 each, especially if they're just staying static. And even worse when your opponent doesn't have a racks up. So SigPi is definitely getting the better situation here. I think the Flamer is going to come in. There hasn't been a second or a new structure from SigPi in quite a while, so we might be going for a super early strip, which will cost them now, especially if, yeah, there's the War Factory. So a super early War Factory going down straight after one ref. He'd be doing well to get a Humvee out here and try and kill these. Yeah, he's going to just about save that War Factory, the skin of his teeth. But yeah, you can see at this point, like, this is a lot of to spent on infantry. Traditionally speaking, I would tend to open with like 3 or 4 minigunners to scout the corners of the map, and then like maybe 2 or 3 flamers to defend or anti-scout. But everyone's different, they do it in slightly different ways. And we can see here, the other thing from TheBlackHand is that players often will either use a power plant in the back of the base or a silo to better crawl into the tib on both sides of the map. But instead we see here TheBlackHand often just go straight for the ref. It's not a huge impact, but in longer games you'll definitely feel the drag of this taking slightly longer. But we see 2 ref into strip, a bit unusual in this map. Generally both GDI and Nod players tend to open 3 ref strip. Just because of the nature of the map, you don't get a huge benefit going 2 ref strip, especially if you're not going like 2 ref 2 strip all in. But we can see here a couple of silos coming up. Not sure why there's 2. I guess to crawl in both directions, but you're likely better off just picking one, get the silo, then get the ref, and then crawl the other way. There's not really a huge advantage to doing this. It slows down the time you get your ref, which slows down your eco. But meanwhile, SigPi has actually gone for a 4th ref in the back. This is kind of a little bit of a cheeky tactic you can do on this map if you want to like try and do an all-in. So 3 ref in the back, 1 here, go 2 War Factory, and you could try and overwhelm them with medium tanks, but we'll see how that plays out. And looks like SigPi might get the scale off here. Oh. So despite even spending that huge investment in all those flamers, you can see that as soon as a Humvee comes up on the field, the same for both factions, like as soon as the early scouting vehicles come up on the field, your anti-scouts just aren't going to be able to be a huge help. So here you have like a big chunk. This is like almost 1,000 money units just kind of sitting still, almost dead too. Meanwhile, back here we can see SigPi has actually opted to go 4F into a comm center. Is a very unusual move. Also, massing Humvees is quite unusual. You'd normally only get comm center as GDI if you want to get AGTs, which he might just be planning to bunker up here, which is a bit of a bad move, I would suggest, because on a map like this, bunkering up, it'll like prolong the game, but it won't make you win it, especially if your opponent's going to continue eco expanding like TheBlackHand is doing here. Also looks like he might be low power, so he can sell a couple of these silos. SigPi getting the Humvee here, but not quite in the right positioning to delay a crawl. But the TheBlackHand here can put his buggies here and delay this crawl by a huge amount, especially if he can snipe the silos. It's nice. But being back here is not going to do much. He's lost 2 buggies, just kind of being idle. 3 buggies. He's not really trading great here, especially as Humvees are weekly units. He's doing alright, He's definitely in a favourite position in the match at this point. I'd say the opponent going for the comm center is a weird choice, considering he also didn't take advantage of using AGTs or any of the tech with this. He may have got it purely for the vision benefit, because it can be quite a bit to keep track of, but if you are not using them already, you can have a look in the settings for map hotkeys and set them, so you can easily flick between different locations if you don't have a map. And it'll allow you to be able to like go to your base, check out what's going on, go to the top choke, see what's happening, go to the bottom choke, see what's happening. Without having to like drag across the map, or if you're not familiar with the right click drag functionality, it's definitely something that should help out a little bit. We are seeing that the Blackhands continues to expand a little bit. I'd like to have seen 2 refs in this field, then that hand and nod, then a strip, or 2 ref strip. Not sure if you needed to worry too much about holding this with the hand and nod up there. But at this point, if you look at the unit's kill count, Blackhand is about 10 unit kills ahead. It's important to know as well, Humvees are more expensive, so it's definitely working in his favour. He also has the expansions, but now if we look here, SigPi has managed to get a ref in the middle as well as to the far left. So they're now coming back up to equal economy, or will be soon enough. So this additional firepower here is all thanks to the Blackhand getting his refineries up before his opponent. And interestingly enough, now SigPi has more refs than Blackhand, so it's something to be aware of. Definitely I would suggest checking out some replays of other non-players. You get 2 ref in this field, 2 ref in this field, which he has done now at this point, which is good. But I feel like it's a little bit delayed. He's probably more concerned with just microing his units and getting control of the map, which is fair enough. But now he's so far ahead. We're seeing a second comm center coming in from SigPi. I don't know if he remembered he built this, or maybe he built this by accident in the first instance. But yeah, there's no benefit to that. It's kind of money down the drain, you know. I would also suggest Blackhand focuses on the war factory here rather than the con yard. But get the war factory, it's quite light, like your buggies will tear it apart very quick, and then go for the con yard so that he doesn't get medium tanks up, right? That'll tear into your vehicles. In terms of SigPi, what he should do, like he had AGT tech the second this went down, so if he really wanted to drag out the game, he could have gotten some AGTs down here, which would tear apart light vehicles and Nod. That's something you tend to see a lot of, but AGTs can be absolutely devastating against Nod in the right circumstances. But yeah, I think SigPi is just not super familiar with the build order on this map, and like going to comm center and then going advanced power plant is not something you ever want to do in Tiberian Dawn Remastered, primarily because the AGT or the advanced power plant costs more than 2 regular power plants, but it gives you the same amount of power. The only benefit is that like if your opponent has like 2 or 3 orcas which would normally take out a power plant, they need a little bit more firepower to take out the advanced, so it survived that, but it's not a factor on this map. And then of course we see the Blackhand continuing his crawl up here, which is good. But I would suggest, if I was to say things for both players, for Blackhand, I would focus on getting the 2 refs up here before I hand the nod, and then once you hit 6 refs, it's usually a good idea to go 2 strip, because you should be able to have enough eco to support production for both of them, and then continue the crawl up here. For SigPi, if you're going to go 3 ref in the back and 1 ref here, you'd want to be doing like some kind of cheese build and go like 2 war factory, let's say, and all in with mass tanks. If you are going to do that, again, Quarry is not really a good map for it because you can see it coming. And also, if you're getting a comm center, getting an early comm center is a bit of a weird decision on this map particularly. I get it if you want to try and have better vision of the minimap, but using map hotkeys will give you just as much information that you need. And also building 2 of them, I think it's just in panic mode, didn't work in his favor. And then of course advanced power plant, I'd just go for the regular power plant. Also, I would suggest the Blackhand not to necessarily spend so much on the early flamers, particularly if you haven't scouted your opponent's base yet. Like having 2 or 3 flamers for defense and anti-scouting is okay, and then having 4 or 5 minigunners in the field, let's say, for just general scouting is probably okay. All in all, it's probably a bit too much, but it's fine. But when you have like 9 flamers here at the start and like they're just sitting idle, not doing anything, you're not getting your money's worth at all. So even send them out if you can, send anti-scouts and like take over this whole section as well as this whole section. Then you're denying your opponent vision of anything you're doing here whatsoever, or here, which is much more valuable than just denying what's going on here and here. But yeah, GG's. Well played, Blackhand. Well played.
Battle control.